إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أما بعد. We start in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we seek His help, we seek refuge with Allah from the evil of our own souls and our own bad actions. Whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, no one can lead astray. And whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows to go astray, no one can guide. I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the one having no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his final messenger. O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fear Him, be in awe of Him, be conscious of Him in the way that He deserves, and do not die except in the state of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the story of Yusuf alayhi salam in the Quran by saying, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن. Allah describes the story of Yusuf by saying, we narrate to you the best of stories from what was revealed to you in this Quran. And then he continues and he says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي يُوسُفَ وَإِخْوَتِهِ آيَاتٌ لِلسَّائِلِينَ. He says, certainly in Yusuf and his brothers, there are signs, there are ayahs for those who are asking. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this story about Yusuf and his brothers, about a boy and his family as the best of stories. So what this tells us is that family is very important to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in today's khutbah, inshallah, I want to focus on lessons related to family from the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. The story of Yusuf begins when he is a young boy. He has this dream, and he sees 11 stars, the sun and the moon, prostrating to him. The first person he goes to share this dream with is his dad. He goes, Ya abati, O my father, I have seen this dream. His father responds by saying, Ya bunay, O my son, do not share this dream with your brothers because they might plan something against you. And pay attention to this next part. He says, indeed, shaitan is a clear enemy to mankind. Now it's interesting because he doesn't say, oh, your brothers are a bunch of troublemakers and they're jealous of you and they're losers, so don't tell them. He attributes the negativity to shaitan. He says shaitan is a clear enemy, so just be careful. And then he proceeds to advise him and to mentor him. He tells him, and thus your Lord will choose you, and He will teach you the interpretation of dreams, and He will complete His favor upon you the way He completed His favor upon your forefathers Ibrahim and Ishaq. So this is really a good quality relationship between a father and a son. And that's where I want to pause for the first lesson. The importance of having these good quality relationships. Yusuf and his father are close. Yusuf is comfortable sharing his dreams with his father. His father mentors him. He advises him. He has time for him. They sit with each other and they talk. They have a good relationship. Just the way they speak to each other, you can tell that there's love and there's respect. Ya abati, O my father. Ya bunay, O my son. These titles are used by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these ayahs to convey this tone of love and respect between father and son. So we should seek to emulate these things in our relationships with our family. And somebody might ask, well, why? What's the benefit of having good family relationships? There's many, but I'll focus on one. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in a sound hadith, he said, whoever seeks for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase his provision, his rizq, and his lifespan, then let him uphold the ties of kinship. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying these things, how much money you make, your wealth, if you end up getting married, if you end up getting a job, how long you live, all these things are directly related to how you treat your family and the relationships you have with your family. And this is something that, subhanAllah, science confirms today. You hear about all these different studies that show that people who have good relationships, they tend to live longer, they have better health, physical health and mental health. So the Prophet ﷺ, he spoke the truth hundreds of years ago. And so then somebody might ask, okay, so I know that it's beneficial to have good relationships. So what can I do to implement this in my life? Well, the number one thing you can do is to try to spend more time with your family. And when I say spend time, I mean go and physically be there with them and then mentally be there as well. How many times have you been in a gathering where you're sitting with family and you look up and everybody's on their phone, right? People are physically there, but mentally they're somewhere else. So we should try to be mentally there as well and not be distracted by our phones. The Prophet ﷺ, when he would meet with somebody, he would turn his body in their direction. He would face them. He would give them his undivided attention. So this is the way we should be with our family. We should spend time with them, quality time, and be present. So the story continues, and we shift focus now to Yusuf's brothers. Yusuf's brothers are not happy. They're planning something, they're up to no good. They feel that Yusuf's father, Yaqub alayhi salam, loves Yusuf more than he loves them. So they start coming up with a plan. They think, let's kill Yusuf. Yeah, it's terrible, but we can be good people after we do it, and our father will love us more. One of them steps up and says, hold on a second. Killing him, that's a bit extreme, okay? Let's throw him in a well. So they all like that idea, and that's what they decide to go forward with. So they go to their dad now. They need to get permission from their dad to take Yusuf out. And they ask their dad, let us take him out to play. He'll eat, he'll have a good time, we'll give him some advice. And Yaqub alayhi salam, he was a prophet. So, he was a prophet and he had wisdom from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he was also a wise man. And he was present, like we mentioned earlier, he was present with his family. He knew what kind of dynamics were at play with his family. So he didn't have a good feeling about this. Just spending time, he knew that there was animosity between Yusuf and his brothers. So he told them, I don't have a good feeling about this. And then pay attention to this part. He was careful what he told them. He told them, I fear that a wolf might eat him while you guys aren't paying attention. Again, he doesn't attribute the negativity to the brothers. He doesn't tell them, oh, I don't trust you guys. You're a bunch of troublemakers. I know you hate Yusuf. No, he says that a wolf, he attributes the negativity to a wolf, and he says a wolf might eat him. So this is the way we should be with our family. We shouldn't speak negatively about family members, even if we need to make a certain point. So sure enough, they continue to push back, and Yusuf alayhi salam, they're able to take him out to play. Their dad agrees. And then they take his shirt, they rip his shirt off, and they throw him in a well. And then they run back to their dad. And they have this entire scene planned out. It's nighttime, they come running to their dad, they're crying, oh dad, you would not believe what happened. You were right, Yusuf actually was eaten by a wolf. And then they put this fake blood on Yusuf's shirt and they show it to their dad. So I want you to put yourself in Yaqub alayhi salam's shoes now. Imagine somebody you love deeply, and somebody comes up to you and tells you, oh, that person has been killed. And you don't buy what they're telling you, you don't believe it, you don't trust these people, you might even think they're involved with it somehow. How would you respond in that kind of a situation? Most people would lose their cool. I mean, that's very upsetting. It's a very emotional situation. Some people might get angry. Some people might get aggressive, right? Yaqub alayhi salam's response is, بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانُ عَلَى مَا تَصِفُونَ. His response is, no, I don't believe you guys. Rather, your souls have enticed you to something. And in that case, patience is beautiful. And I seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from what you guys are describing. So he was able to keep his cool, and he was able to be patient. And now I want to pause for the next set of lessons from this part of the story. Brothers and sisters, the fact of the matter is, our family is going to disappoint us sometimes. There's no such thing as a perfect family. Somebody's going to say something or do something that's going to get us upset. Inshallah, it's not going to be as bad as what happened with Yusuf and his brothers. But there are going to be situations like that. So can we be patient? Can we have beautiful patience like Yaqub alayhi salam had in those situations? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that the strong man is not the one who is good at wrestling. Rather, the strong man is the one who controls himself when he is angry. You know, there's so much emphasis, especially from young people, on trying to be physically strong, right? We go to the gym, we take the protein, we take these classes, mixed martial arts, so on and so forth, and which is all great, by the way. But unfortunately, we don't pay too much attention to mental strength, to being able to control ourselves when we're angry, to being able to be patient in difficult situations. So we should really put emphasis on that as well. We should actually take it as a good challenge. The Prophet ﷺ is telling us true strength is mental strength. So we should really put some focus on our mental strength. Another lesson we take from this is the danger of jealousy. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said in a sound hadith, beware of jealousy, because jealousy eats away from your good deeds the same way a fire eats away from twigs. And it's clear, jealousy is extremely dangerous. Look what it did to Yusuf's brothers. They basically, they threw their brother in a well. They made up all sorts of lies and everything. All this they did because they were jealous of him. So if we ever experience this feeling, we need to put ourselves on check right away. We need to fight it off. Don't let it settle in your heart. Push it away. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ said, none of you truly believes until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. So we should try to be happy for that person. Actually, we should take it a step further. We should make dua for Allah to put blessings, to put barakah in that thing for that person. That's a good way to fight off the jealousy. And if you think about it, jealousy, there's nothing beneficial comes out of jealousy. But you can actually turn this into a good situation by making dua for that person. And remember, again, the Prophet ﷺ also told us, whoever makes dua for his brother in his absence, then the angels say, may it be for you as well. So the angels make dua for you. I mean, that's a much better alternative than feeling jealous. Be happy for your brother or sister and make dua for them, and the angels will make dua for you as well. So now the story continues, and we shift focus to Yusuf alayhi salam. He's a child at the bottom of a well. Can you imagine how traumatizing that would be for him? And that's just the beginning. In this part, I'm going to speed through the story because the khutbah, obviously, there's not enough time. Eventually, he's pulled out of the well. He's sold into slavery. And Yusuf was from Palestine. Now he's moved, and when he's sold into slavery, he's moved to Egypt, to a totally different country. And he grows up, and he becomes this young, handsome man. And these women come after him. They try to seduce him. He is able to be patient through the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But eventually, he's thrown in jail. And he spends years in jail. And he is slandered. People say all sorts of bad things about him that are not true. All this time, he's away from his dad and his mom and his family. Very, very difficult situation for a young man. Eventually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows him to be released from prison, and he is given this title. He becomes the Aziz in Egypt. He's given this position of authority in Egypt. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses him. And eventually, he is reunited with his brothers. His brothers come in one day to the city, and they don't recognize him, but he recognizes them. And so, I want you to put yourself in Yusuf's shoes now. You're in this position of power. You see these guys in front of you. Because of these guys, all the suffering you've experienced in your life goes back to that one day they threw you in a well. This is your chance. This is payback time. Now you can get back at these guys. You have power. You're a leader. These guys are coming to you. They want food. They want supplies. You can deny them. You can lock them up. You can do whatever you want. This is your chance, okay? Yusuf alayhi salam's response, he reveals his identity to them and he tells them, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم. His response is, there is no blame upon you guys today. Allah will forgive you. Which is tough. I mean, many of us, when somebody wrongs us, it's difficult for us, right? We don't want to forgive them right away. Some of us hold grudges, unfortunately. Some people even might cut somebody off and not speak to them. Now this I want to caution everybody from. Be very careful of this. The Prophet ﷺ said in another sound hadith, he said, the one who cuts off the ties of kinship, قاطع الرحم, will not enter paradise. I'm going to repeat that. The one who cuts off the ties of kinship will not enter paradise. And I know it sounds very heavy, but remember, we said at the beginning of the khutbah, family is extremely important to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we don't just cut people off for little reasons. Obviously, there are certain situations, if there's abuse or whatever it might be, there might be situations where it makes sense. But if somebody just, said something one time that upset me, that's not a good reason to cut somebody off. Family, especially family. And rather, it's better for us to forgive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah An-Nur, something to the effect of, let them forgive because don't they want the one in the heavens to forgive them, right? So we need to think bigger. We don't need to be petty. We should be thinking at a higher level. I have my own sins. I've done things that are wrong in my past. So I want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me, so let me forgive this person. This is not really, this situation between me and them is not a big deal. My forgiveness is more important. So we should take that advice. And so now the story continues. Yusuf's brothers and him are reunited. They know who's who. And now we shift focus to Yaqub alayhi salam, who's in Palestine still. And think about it. This is many years later. He's been away from Yusuf alayhi salam. He's also lost his younger son, who's also now in Masr, in Egypt. And he's experiencing so much hardship, so much difficulty. He's crying so much to the point where he loses his eyesight. Yusuf alayhi salam, when his brothers find out who his true identity, immediately the first thing he thinks about, his focus shifts to, is I want to bring relief to my dad. Immediately. Most important thing is my dad is suffering. I need to bring relief to him. So what does he do? He takes his shirt and he gives it to them and he says, throw this on my father's face, and his eyesight was eventually restored from that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through a miracle, used Yusuf's shirt to restore the eyesight of Yaqub alayhi salam. And this is very interesting. I want to pause and just focus on this real quick. This symbol, the shirt. If you guys remember, Yusuf's brothers, they took that shirt with the fake blood on it, and then they showed it to their father. And that was the beginning of all this difficulty and this hardship and this suffering and sadness for their dad. Yusuf alayhi salam takes the same object, his shirt, and through that shirt, he brings joy, he brings relief and happiness to his dad. So brothers and sisters, I ask you, are we the type of children to our parents who bring hardship and difficulty and sadness the same way Yusuf's brothers did? Or are we more like Yusuf alayhi salam and we bring joy and happiness and relief to our parents? Inshallah, we are of the second category. We're like Yusuf alayhi salam. And so I just want to now emphasize the importance of how treating your parents the right way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran in Surah Isra, He says, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts in the same breath Tawheed, worshiping one God only, with treating our parents in an excellent way. Again, it's extremely important to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we treat our parents the right way. إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. If one of your parents or both of them reach old age when they are with you, do not even say uff to them. Uff is like, just like something, like a small sound, you know? How many of us go beyond that? How many of us yell at our parents, raise our voice? How many of us say things that are displeasing to our parents or do things that are displeasing? We should not do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says later on in the surah, He says, وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِ صَغِيرًا. He tells us to make this dua, to have, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy upon our parents the way they raised us when we were little. So we should make this dua, and when we make this dua, we should think deeply about it. It's kind of a reminder from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. These are your parents. They raised you when you were little, when you were helpless, when you didn't even know how to use the bathroom by yourself. You couldn't sleep. You couldn't even eat. You were just this helpless baby, and they had mercy upon you. So ask Allah to have mercy upon them in the same way. And you also treat them in a merciful way. The same way Yusuf alayhi salam, he was merciful to his dad. He brought relief to his dad the second he had a chance to do it. Inshallah, in the next part of the khutbah, we will recap some of these lessons and then we will wrap up the story. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله استغفر الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So just a quick recap. We started with Yusuf and his father, and they had a good quality relationship. They spent time with one another. So inshallah, I'm going to go through step by step real quickly and recap, and then we'll take some practical lessons from each part of the story. So Yusuf and his father, they had this good quality relationship. They spent time with each other. Yusuf and his father, they didn't have their phone out and they weren't looking at their phone when they were spending time with their families. So inshallah, when we sit with our family today and the next day is coming, let's put our phones away. Let's be physically and mentally present with our family and spend quality time with our family. The next part of the story, Yusuf's brothers, they did something to really upset their dad, but he was able to be patient. All of us have that family member. We know who it is. They know just what to say or what to do to get us upset. Maybe it's not intentional, maybe it is intentional. But either way, can we be patient? Can we give ourselves a heads up right now? I know that it's going to come eventually. When it does come, I'm going to be patient. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to lose my cool. I'm going to be mentally strong. Then we got to the next part where Yusuf alayhi salam, his identity is revealed to his brothers and he forgives them. Can we be like Yusuf and forgive somebody? Some of us might have a relative out there who we haven't spoken to in months or years or whatever it might be, and maybe it's for something petty. Can we get over that? Can we take a step to end that? Remember how important it is not to cut off ties of kinship. Can we go and decide, I'm going to text that person, I'm going to call that person, and whatever it is between us, we're going to squash it. We're going to end it and we're going to reunite one another. Can we do that? And then finally, just treating our parents with excellence. Can we go home tonight and do something good for our parents if they're around us? And if they're not around us, can we make dua for them? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy upon them. Whatever it might be. Maybe I'm going to bring flowers to my mom today. Or maybe I'm going to go give my dad a hug. Or I'm going to go take my parents out. I'm going to have some coffee with them. Whatever it might be. I'm going to do something to please them, to make them happy. Can we do that today? And again, if they're not around, can we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy upon them? So the story concludes eventually. Yusuf alayhi salam brings his entire family to Masr. And they're reunited with him. His parents and all his brothers and everything. And the story ends, he raises them up to the throne and they all prostrate to him. And Yusuf, he recognizes this is the interpretation of my dream when I was a boy many, many years ago. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused it to come true. And the story ends with the whole family reunited, everybody's forgiven, everybody's good, everyone's happy with one another. And it's a beautiful end to a beautiful story. And there's so many beautiful stories like this in the Quran. And so I ask everybody, we need to re-engage with the Quran. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day. I'm going to read 5 minutes and I'm just going to reflect on the lessons in the Quran. There's so many beautiful stories like the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, and so many lessons we can take that we can implement in our own lives. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Oh Allah, we ask you for the best in this life and the best in the next life, and to protect us from the punishment of the fire. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا. Oh Allah, we ask you to bring our hearts together. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا واختم بالصالحات أعمالنا. Oh Allah, we ask you to give healing to those of us who are sick and to have mercy on those of us who passed away. اللهم انصر إخوانا المستضعفين في كل مكان. Oh Allah, we ask you to give victory and relief to those of us, our brothers and sisters who are suffering around the world. اللهم انفعنا بالقرآن اللهم انفعنا بالقرآن اللهم اجعلنا من أهل القرآن. Oh Allah, we ask you to benefit us from the Quran and to make us the people of the Quran. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. أقم الصلاة.